Howdy, I'm Lee Wilson, and this is TGO Wyoming, and this is our Urban Homestead. So this is a new video series that I'm putting together, which is going to follow along with my exploits and adventures in doing urban homesteading. Now, it's kind of a cool concept. As opposed to having a large piece of property and a lot of space to work with, we are going to maximize our space right here smack dab in the middle of Casper, Wyoming. So, hopefully you will find this entertaining. This is going to be kind of a vlog series as I go through projects. I will do some how-tos, but for now it's just mostly kind of a vlog series. Alright, so tonight we're going to start off with pressure canning. Cheryl and I just picked up a brand new Granite Ware 20 quart pressure canner. Now since we're at 5,200 feet elevation, we're going to have to run it at the highest pressure. But we're going to try canning some tomatoes, so follow along with us and we'll see how it goes. This is our new Granite Ware 20 quart pressure cooker, and it is a big mamma jamma. The reason we chose this one is it was very affordable, and I believe it was under $90, certainly under $100. Alright, Cheryl just informed me it was like 60 or 70 bucks, so that's even better. But it comes with all the accessories you need and has a really cool feature, which is a locking latch on the cover. So when it gets pressure, it locks up, which I really like. So the first things we're going to do is get this thing all washed and ready to go. Alright, so one of the big things about any pressure cooker is that they have a silicone ring in there that seals everything up. Now, according to the instructions, you do not wash it with a silicone ring in there. In fact, you want to be very careful with the silicone ring, and the manufacturer recommends replacing it every canning season. So before we start getting this thing all cleaned up, we're going to pull out the ring because it has been lubricated from the factory. And then next time around, after we get it washed and cleaned, we'll oil it up with some mineral oil or some cooking oil. So Cheryl's here getting started washing the top of the pressure canner, and we're just using the soft side of a non-scratch scrubby pad and just some good, non-caustic, organic, natural dish soap, the 7th generation natural dish liquid. It's good stuff. We really like it. So even though we're not actually doing any cooking in our pressure canner slash cooker slash steamer tonight, we're still washing all of the components to get rid of all of the residual manufacturing oil that may be present. 20 quarts in this big mamma jamma. So here we have some of our tomato components. In the middle we have tomato juice that we processed the other day. On the right hand side we have diced tomatoes. On the left hand side we have quartered tomatoes. Cheryl got really tired of chopping tomatoes, so can't say that I blame her. We double bagged that one because there was a slight leak in the bag. But these here are our tomato canning components. Alright, so Cheryl is busy washing out our jars, and she's just getting everything nice and clean, hot soapy water. I'm going to take this moment here to talk about the pressure canner top and the silicone seal. Now the silicone seal here is very important. That's how we maintain our pressure. And one of the things about the silicone seal is that it needs to sit in the lid underneath the grooves and be flush. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure that it is under all of the lips here. Yep, see, nice there, and it's sitting flush. So Cheryl and I are going to do a 3-pot setup here. We're going to have our pressure cooker ripped up and ready to go, and we're going to have one larger pot that is going to contain our tomato juice, and we're going to get that up to boiling temperatures. We're going to have a 3rd pot that we're going to put our lids and our rings in, so that way we can get those up to temperature as well. Now we're going to do a raw hot pack. It's combo pack. So you have hot packs and you have raw packs, and in a hot pack we need to have a boiling liquid or a hot liquid that's going to go in there. So we're going to take the tomatoes, the diced tomatoes and the quartered tomatoes, put them in the jars, and then fill them up with the boiling tomato juice. Alright, so now we've got all of our pint jars washed. Now we can fit 8 inside the canning rack here, inside the pressure canner. So I've got 8 jars washed, just hot soapy water, got them nice and clean. Now we're going to sterilize them. I think what we're going to try for sterilizing, since we don't have a whole lot of stovetop space available, is we're going to fill up the pressure canner with water, submerge them, get it up to a rolling boil them, sterilize them, empty them out, and then while we're doing that, we're going to get our diced tomato and tomato juice mixture ready. Now, one thing I've done here to expedite my filling process, I've got an old 1 gallon distilled water jug, but I've actually put some air tubing inside it and run it down the handle. Now what happens there is that as you're pouring out the jug, air is allowed to escape back to the jug and you don't get that glug glug glug. Cool little trick. I really like it. I use it for filling up the Berkey water filter all the time. I've got the pressure canner completely full of the jars and filled up to where there's about 2 inches of water above the top of each jar. And we're just going to get this to a nice rolling boil and let it go for about 10 minutes probably, just to get these jars nice and sterilized. Since we're dealing with a moderate acid tomato, we're going to add a little bit of lemon juice or some citric acid in there to bring the pH down to where it needs to be. And we're going to have nice, clean, sterile jars to put it in. Alright, since we're starting out with brand new Kerr jars, we're going to have rings and lids for each jar. So what I've got here is a little pot of water that I'm going to get onto a nice simmer. I'm not going to boil the rings and the lids. I'm just going to get the lids and the rings, warm. Get them hot, keep them warm, and yeah, we'll go from there. Just right here on the back burner, got a small pot of water starting to get it heated up. I'm just going to start dropping the lids in. Starting to get some steam right there on our jars, get those boiling up. And over to our rings. So we'll just gather all of these up. And just drop all the rings in there too. Alright, so our cans have come off the boil here, and we've got our diced tomatoes looking wonderful. They have been simmering for a little while here, and then over there we have our jars and our lids and rings ready to rock. So I am going to start pulling the jars out here and then setting them down on our little work cloth there, and then Cheryl's going to start spooning our diced tomato concoction in there. And then we're going to add a little bit of citric acid to bring the pH to the proper level, so that way we can avoid botulism. Oh yeah.
That looks too full. Maybe there's some air in it though.
So what we're doing here is we are filling our jars. Now we took these out of the boiling water. Everything's still nice and warm. We have our tomato boiling water solution right there, boiling tomato juice solution, and we are just using our large funnel, and Cheryl is just scooping it right in, and we're going through after we get this set up, and we're pushing down the tomatoes, and we are pushing a little nylon, this is actually a cake decorator's tool. You can do it with a silicone spatula, and we're pushing it down along the sides to release all the air bubbles. And then we'll go ahead and start putting the lids and the rings on these jars. What we did here is we wiped off the rims, put our caps on, and we did our rings just finger tight. Now we actually kind of overestimated how many tomatoes we had. So those two sad jars did not get filled. Now with this particular pressure canner, you actually just fill it up to 3 quarts of liquid, which we have in the bottom. We actually just use some of the boiling water, so it's still pretty hot. And we've got all of the jars equally spaced around. I'm going to try to maneuver them a little bit so that they don't touch the sides. And we're going to get some heat on this, lock down the lid, and wait for it to start steaming. Alright, so we got the lid locked down, water's boiling, and we're getting steam. Now, according to the manufacturer's suggestion, you let it go ahead and steam for 10 minutes, and that purges the inside of the pressure vessel of all oxygen, and you just have pure steam, so that way everything can actually get up to pressure. And what's really cool about this is this thing has a lid lock function. Now, when you crank your lid on, it's going to go ahead and, set into place. But as soon as there's pressure actually present inside the vessel, a little pin just pops right up and it locks the lid down, so that way you can't actually open the lid when there's pressurized or when the vessel is pressurized. It's pretty cool, actually. Alright, so the pressure canner is up to pressure. We have 2 weights on for 15 pounds. The weight is gently rocking back and forth, relieving the pressure and keeping it right at the correct amount of pressure. The only downside is we have a horrific high-pitched whistle. And I don't know if that's normal or not, but man is it awful. So, holy smokes. We just gotta go for another 20 minutes of this. Alright, so it's been about 35 minutes since we brought that thing up to pressure. We let it go for 20 minutes, took it off the heat, and now I'm patiently waiting for it to cool down. Thankfully, it's not whistling like a banshee anymore. That was terrible. I don't know if all pressure canners do that. This is my first experience really with pressure canning. So, but oh man, that was rough. I think my ears are still ringing. Oh. So what we have to do now is wait for it to depressurize, and then we'll go ahead and let it sit for, we'll remove the weight, and then we'll let it sit for another 10 minutes to kind of equalize, and I'll be able to take the lid off and pull out my jars and set them down to cool for, 18 to 24 hours. So I'll probably let them go ahead and just cool until tomorrow night, see how it goes. So this has been kind of an interesting experience. Lots of things to learn about canning. I'm really looking forward to doing more of it. I think the big thing is just we overestimated how much tomatoes we actually, or how much diced tomatoes that we had. Because we prepped 8 jars, we filled 6 jars. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be an experience thing. As we get better at this, as we do more jarring, more canning, we're going to get better at guesstimating exactly how much we need. But it's really kind of nifty. And we got into this because next year we really want to get our garden going. We haven't had a good garden going in a couple of years. And I've been doing some work on the raised bed planters in the backyard this year. And we went to Texas on a vacation, and that was 2 weeks, and that kind of sucked up all our time. So we didn't get our garden going. But we're going to hit it hard. We're going to really, really try some intense, probably permaculture in the backyard. We're going to see if we can get a good yield. And we want to be able to can. So we figured we'd start now, learn how to can, and make sure that we have the process really down before we start canning our own vegetables and our own tomatoes and everything that we're going to grow in the garden next year. So the other thing about canning is the ability to process your own food. You have full control over what's going into your food. Now, I personally have a severe intolerance to garlic. I know, it's a shame. Garlic is so good for you. Well, most of you, not for me. But, it's really hard to find pasta sauce that doesn't have garlic. I.e., you can't find pasta sauce that doesn't have garlic. It's kind of a key component in all Italian food. So that makes it really difficult for me. Now, sometimes we make our own pasta sauce. Sometimes I just suffer the terrible consequences of eating garlic. But this way, we can actually create our own pasta sauce and be able to make our own stuff. So we're going to be able to make our own pasta sauce, jar it whenever we need it. We just pick up and go. So another reason we wanted to get into canning was that we wanted to be able to can our own deer meat, our own venison. So I don't know if I'm going to get to go hunting this season, but if I do, we're definitely going to be canning some stew meat from the venison, and that's going to be awesome. So there's a whole new world of opportunities for us here with canning. I mean, from making jams and jellies to canning peaches, tomatoes, making salsa. We're pretty excited about really diving into it. So, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and let this thing settle down, and I'll get a little bit of video tomorrow when everything's cooled, and we'll see how this turned out. So, I just want to say thanks for watching, because, it's what drives the channel. I'm hoping you guys have found this video entertaining and or useful. Not really meant to be a how-to, just kind of showing you the process of what we're doing. And of course, any input from expert canners out there is much appreciated. I'm novice, Cheryl's a novice. Any help, any tips, tricks, or advice, not only will I benefit from it, but I'm sure the rest of the viewers will benefit from it. So, comment in the box below. Alrighty. And, if you did find this useful or entertaining, you can always donate. I think it's in this box. Maybe this box. I'm not really sure where the annotation's going to go up. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. But you can always donate to the channel, and every little bit helps. That helps me cover equipment costs. Really, it helps me cover equipment costs. So I'm always constantly upgrading and trying to make sure that I'm providing the best quality content. This isn't a full-blown production. This is a vlog, so a vlog. Is it vlog or video log? Video blog? Vlog? Don't know. Doesn't matter, because, if you've made it this far, kudos to you. So, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more great videos. And as always, stay safe, shoot straight, and I'll see y'all next time.